Hi, I'm here interviewing Maria Kedemo, who's going to share her experience on going independent. My hope is that with sharing her experiences, she could help people who are thinking of going independent or who are earlier on in their journey. Anywho, welcome, Maria. Could you please tell me a bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm really happy to be here. So, yes, my name is Maria. I live in Sweden, in Malmö, the south of Sweden. And I've been in software development for it's over 20 years actually. Um, Mainly focusing on software testing, but also like on teaching. And I currently have an assignment where I'm traveling back and forth to Gothenburg. Uh, so yeah, I'm not really sure what you want to know, but
I want to know what you want to tell me. Okay, let's get straight into it then. So I guess we're focusing on going independent. I guess the first logical question would be, what made you decide to go independent?
okay. So I think I was thinking about it for quite a while before I actually took the decision. But so it was like a process for, I guess, over a year or something before I decided. But I was working as a consultant at the time. And basically, the way that assignment or that employment was that um, I had a an agreement where a certain percentage would be given to me and a certain percentage would be given to the company. And basically, with that income, I would have to what do you call it? I mean, I would say that I was like an independent already, but I was paying someone to cover like marketing and sales and so on, getting me assignments. But since I was actually getting the assignments myself, the step from you know that situation going independent was very very small. I was already taking all the risks since if I didn't have an assignment, it would be the same as not having an income. So the risk was already there. So yeah, the step wasn't that big from that specific context to going independent.
So you were saying how you were getting the assignments yourself, and I'm guessing to do that you already had a decent network of people to reach out to then. And then so
Yes,
by
yes.
having this set up with with your previous company, you were kind of eased into being independent, could you say? Like it wasn't such a compared to being like
Yes,
a normal employee to fully independent?
exactly. Yeah, because my I've already had the network in a sense, and it was I think through being quite visible in the south of Sweden, but also in the testing community. But actually, I think it was the network, the local network, which was the most important one. Um, so I already had that based on having been in the industry for like over 15 years. Um, so it made it easier to find different assignments and so on. But yeah, of course, I got some help from the current company, but it just didn't feel like a very big step for me.
Okay, okay. And what advice would you have for someone who's like thinking about going independent?
I mean, it's. I think it's different from for everyone depending on why you want to go independent. So the reason for me wanting to go independent was that I actually wanted to work less, and by doing so, I mean most of would the income would be mine, sort of, and I would be able to place it in my company, so I could control. I mean, control my own income in that sense. Of course, I could do that before being a consultant, but um, I would say not having to give away that certain percentage would leave me with all the money in my company instead. So that gave me the opportunity to actually just work 80%. So that was my main goal. Working less, being able to spend time with my family and spend time on things that I enjoyed to do, like going exercising. I train a lot, so I like having that, that extra time to do things that I like to do. So going back to your question, I would rather try to think about why do you want to go independent. That is probably the first thing. And secondly, I know that some people that are independent have gone back to being employees because they find it very lonely. And it can be at some times, but again, it really depends on, why you want to do this. So being lonely or alone isn't a very big problem for me. I do have a network set up with other freelancers or other people that have companies. So we kind of cover that need if we want to, based on having these Christmas parties that you might have when you're an employee, or other what do you call them, not getaways, but after works and socializing. So yeah, going back to that part where I think you need to think that through, or perhaps not think it through, but being aware that that might be a thing. But you can always go back if you don't feel that being independent is something for you. Otherwise, there are other type of companies where you can actually be independent, but you are kind of covered by a bigger company, so you will get that type of socializing as well. Yeah.
So there's different ways in which you can be independent. It's not like an all or nothing. And then as what I've heard, you can always go back. You can always try something, and then assuming you didn't burn any bridges on your way out to being independent, you could, if not go back to the same role, hopefully gain experience at another company.
Yeah, I think it's very different for everyone, but I wanted to be as transparent as possible. So I was really lucky. I was in an assignment, and the company I was employed with had no limit in me like taking over that client in a sense. I know that some contracts limit you from continuing, if you change a company or so on. But I was lucky that that wasn't the cause. And also I was very transparent with the company that I was working for at the moment, the assignment. And they wanted me to continue. So I guess I had an assignment already when starting. So I know if you don't have an assignment when you go independent, you might feel that it's more scary. But so I would advise you, if you can, it's always good to already have an assignment before going independent, but don't be put down if you don't. There are ways to get it. Maybe you won't get, your dream assignment at once. So.
Okay. It was a bit of a tangent, but it got me thinking. In terms of advice, I remember Jerry Weinberg in his book Secrets of Consulting, how there can be a challenge around finding assignments and then being at full-time work. So if you were to work 40, you work 80%, I believe.
Yeah.
But if you worked 100%, that leaves you no time to find new opportunities. Did you ever think about that sort of balance between being in an assignment and earning money there, and then knowing that that's less time you have to make sure you have future projects, or do you have you not find that aspect so difficult?
I haven't, because I use that 20 extra percent to, I mean, I use it for me, but I also use it for networking. So most of the times, if I have lunches or fika with someone, it's basically on Fridays where I try to take that day off. But yeah, it's definitely something to think about. And I know some people that are independent, they find it really difficult to focus on the 100% assignment whilst trying to find something else. And I know one guy, he actually he takes like one month off his assignment, and he, instead of like working 80% like I do, he takes a month off in between assignments. But that might be a bit risky too. So I think you need to find something that works for you, but really try to keep your network going. So don't wait until your assignment is over. I think it's something like with all relationships, you need to keep them alive.
Mm. Oh, yeah, not just yeah, sure. All right. Okay. Now, in terms of being independent, what have you found the most rewarding?
Oh, I think I like the extra time that I have. I mean, there was a point where, just where the pandemic started, and I had just left an assignment, and I had decided to take some time off because I was doing this coaching course. So I was taking a month off, and I had some leads, and I was pretty sure that I was going to get an assignment, when my course was done. But then the pandemic happened, and I was actually, let me see, 6 or 7 months without an assignment. And I mean, maybe some people would panic, but I actually found it really, really relaxing, because I did everything that I had, the time to do: taking walks, reading, taking care of myself by going to the gym. Just, the garden has never been as beautiful
Mm.
as during that period. And I never really felt stressed about it. I think it was like the last month I was starting to feel, okay, at some point I need to make a decision. Like, am I going to look for um, an employee? What is it called? An employment?
Employee, as in you're going to hire someone, or employment that you wanted to become like
Yeah,
an employee at a company?
employed at a company, because I was like, if something isn't going to show up in about a month or so, maybe I need to reconsider what I'm supposed to do.
Mm.
But yeah, I was, I guess, lucky in a sense, because um, an old client of mine called me and wanted me to come back. So I actually forgot what was the original
Like,
question.
what have you found the most rewarding?
Right. Yeah, it was the time I wanted to focus on, like the ability to kind of decide on how you want to spend your time. I think
Mm.
that's the most rewarding part of it. But also being able to, I think, look for your dream assignment. Um, so there are assignments that I turn down, which either are not worth it, or in a sense, um, it could be that they want me to work 100%, and if it's not an assignment that I really want to do, I have the ability to turn it down, and it feels better being the one making that decision on my own.
Mm. But like 6 to 7 months to me sounds like a long time to not have an assignment. But then you would have had some time, I imagine, to build up some sort of buffer or pool of money.
Yeah.
As I understand, with going independent, you earn income or you get income for your company, and then you pay yourself a salary. So then, but then you would have this extra reserve
Yeah,
to tap into when times are quieter.
exactly. So I think that's important to do. Also to think about, what's like the minimum salary that you can um, live on. I guess it's the same no matter the situation, but you kind of need to be aware about how much you have in your company and how long it needs to last.
But I find it intriguing because, like, as an employee, the company chooses your salary, and maybe you can
Yes.
negotiate. But then, as your own, as your own boss, you get to choose exactly how you'll pay yourself.
Yes. And I
Okay.
think that's your own. I mean, you need to think about it. So the interesting part is, I basically have cut my salary in half. If I was an employee, I would probably have double or more than double. But it's all about going back again to why are you doing this and what's important in your life. And to
Mm,
me, there are other things that are more important. Um,
yeah. I mean, 80% sounds amazing. I mean, like Fridays or 3-day weekends or Fridays off sounds pretty damn cool. So now,
Nice, yeah, but sometimes it's hard to. I try to be really, um, strict about it. So at some points when, I mean, there's in some assignments, of course, I'm flexible. So there might be Fridays where I need to work, but I really try to stick to it because it's very easy to be too flexible at some points. But sometimes if I need to work a Friday, I might take another day off, or I might um, leave earlier one day or so on. But having a full day is so much better than just, having a few hours a day.
mm, mm. Now, I think you maybe touched on this already, but what have you found the most challenging?
Um, the most challenging, I mean, it's still a bit, um, I think it's easy to feel safe when you have an assignment and stick with that. There are companies where you could stay in an assignment for quite a long time if you want to. But I personally think a lot of, based on the type of assignments that I have, is about coaching companies or teams in quality and software testing. And I always have in mind that at some point I really want to make myself, what is it called? Not needed,
Mm,
because I mean, it's about the team learning and picking up stuff. So if I'm there all the time, I guess that would be a safety for the company. So that's one aspect where I like have in the back of my head. But also, I mean, leaving an assignment, you need to find a new company, and if you don't find another assignment, of course, there's a loss of income.
mm,
So I think it's having that balance. Sometimes that's the most challenging. Like, for how long do I stay here? When do I leave? Should I feel safe by, going back to a new company, or should I expand my knowledge and network and find a completely different assignment? So I think that's pretty challenging. And yes, of course, if going without an assignment for 7 months uh, can at some points be challenging. But I I think you need to make a decision at some point. So where you stop looking for assignments and then pick it up. So what I did during those 6-7 months, because they happened during the summer vacation, if when people have vacation, I basically decided, okay, so I'm just going to stop right now, and I'm going to pick it up after vacation, which was in August, because nothing was going to happen
in July.
Yeah, exactly. So just making that decision made me feel more relaxed, and yeah, not having to think about that constantly.
Mm. Now I remember when I was with House of Test, and after, I mean, I was an employee, so it's not like I had a bunch of pressure to get an assignment as I was still getting a salary. But when when an assignment finished end of June, I remember the sales guy at the time said that, well, nothing's going to happen in July and probably half of August, so those don't really count as time off from an assignment. Now, in terms of going independent, was it anything that surprised you?
Um, Nothing really, I think. I'm trying to think. Well, I guess it didn't surprise me, but in the beginning, I was thinking I would deal with accounting myself.
Mm.
But after some time, I realized I just don't want to spend time on this. So I have a company doing that for me instead. I know some people do it themselves and they find it really fun and interesting, and that's good for them, but I just don't find it very fun at all.
Mm.
So yeah, I get help with that.
Did you do your own accounting the first year or two, and or did you like realize straight away that it wasn't your cup of tea?
I think I did it like for half a year or so, and then um, I can't remember what it's called in English, but you do when you have the closure of the year and so on.
Oh, I think it's I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
it's like års bokslut, I think, in
Closing the books.
yeah,
I've heard my mum say that, sort of like at the end of a financial year, you're trying to like reconcile everything.
yeah,
And because your company structure is a aktiebolag, a limited liability company, right?
yes, yes.
And are they like compared to an enskild firma or I think it's called a sole propriety company, I think it's called in English. Are there more accounting requirements, or like is it more complicated to do it under a limited liability company compared to the private company? Like what you had to show in terms of your expenses, or
I
did it make no
don't know
difference?
because it was never a question of having an enskild firma because of how much you earn and so on. So it was never, I never looked into an enskild firma.
Okay. Now, taking a step in a different direction, do you ever think, so you're the face of your brand, right? Do you ever think about personal branding? And if so, how do you go about it?
Okay, so personal branding has been something I've thought about for, I think, more than 15 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
Ever since I think ever since I got involved in like the testing community. So um, basically, I would say very early when I was working for, this would be very sure at that time. We had some cooperation, I remember, with Öredev as an example, and with Food Cafe. And parts of that was absolutely for the company, and
Hmm.
parts of it was because I also had an interest in finding new employees for my team, but it was also being involved in the community and networking and making people understand what I value. So it might sound a bit what do you call it, like very strategic and planned, but there was this part whenever I interact within the community, or you know, volunteering for something, that was always a small part of me knowing this is part of my personal branding in that sense. So I would also try to think about what type of, where would I want to be seen in terms of community and thinking about values, because
Mm.
values are very, very important to me and part of the personal branding.
Okay, thank you. No, I was just curious about it because, like, I mean, I figured as an employee, it's one thing, but then you're still like a representative of your company. But I always just imagined it was different when you are the face of your company and when you founded it, right? Now,
Yeah, I think it's because, I mean, if you're when I started out, I wanted the company name, but you know, being that part, having that part visible. But after a while, I realized, I mean, I am the company. So to me, um, the company, I use that sometimes, but it's really about what I can offer.
mm, okay, thank you. Now, that's all I was going to ask you today. So thanks heaps for taking the time to speak with me. If someone wanted to find you, where would be the best ways to get in contact with you or to see what you have written or done online?
So yeah, LinkedIn would be a way to contact me on. And I have a blog which is not super active, but occasionally I write something when I have a feeling of writing something, and that would be on WordPress, mkedemo.wordpress.
Okay, I'll include those links in the description below. Alrighty. Thanks heaps for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you,
See you.
Nicola. Take care.
Bye.